Top lane Nasus has been the biggest winner from 26.16. Camille's support is now pretty dead, while Hurricane ADCs are winning a ton. So there's lots to update in regards to the meta in today's video as we provide you guys with a solo queue tier list for every single role. But while every patch changes the meta, losers queue still feels real as ever. Top laners getting solo killed 5 times, junglers farming while everybody else fights a dragon, supports farming your waves, and ADCs getting caught on cooldown. Those players aren't going anywhere, and the truth is, they exist in every elo. So if your entire strategy for climbing relies on getting better ones, you're never going to escape. That's why SkillCapped Season 16 Essentials course teaches you how to carry without relying on your team. One complete course for every role, breaking down the exact decisions you need at every stage of the game. How to consistently win trades, how to manage waves and when to recall, and how to convert your lead into dominating the entire map, even while your teammates are running around doing absolutely nothing, including when to roam, when to split push, when to group, when to farm, or when to gank. And when you're ready to go even deeper, our advanced courses on macro and trading teach you exactly how to take your game to the next level. For junglers, our world record clears are designed to give you countless minutes of extra free time, and our weekly challenger commentaries show you step by step how to carry real games on your chosen champion, including how to win your most difficult matchups with the same unreliable teammates you deal with every single day. We've even tested these systems through our bronze to diamond climbs, taking real hard-stuck players and getting them the rank they've always wanted using only our courses, documenting their entire journey. You can't stop your teammates from trolling, but you can stop them from deciding whether you climb. And because everything is backed up by our rank up guarantee, you can try it completely risk-free. Check out SkillCapped today using the exclusive discount in the description or pinned comment below. So going into the patch, we were optimistic the ADC Changes would turn him into an S-tier top laner. We just didn't think he'd land in as OP of a spot as he has. Nasus is now the most winningest top lane champ in the game for 26.16, and the most crazy thing about it is that he's not even struggling in the higher elos. Usually what we see out of Nasus is that he'll have a much higher win rate in the lower elos, but suffer way more in the higher ranks. But he's literally got a win rate above 52% in master tier. So it's safe to say the Q buffs along with the fleet footwork buffs have been huge for him, and the champ is now the king of the top lane for 26.16 as he's going to stand alone in the OP tier. So other than Nasus getting an extra push up into the OP tier, the other top lane changes have played out to how we expected going into the patch. Kennen and Gwen are now both back to being good top lane pickups as we had bumped them up into the A tier during pre-patch. Camille is going to be an interesting one to track for this patch because even though support Camille is definitely weaker, top lane Camille has seen a small boost in win rate. Of course, the Camille changes were not all nerfs as the scaling power on her abilities got better, so late game Camille is more threatening now. For the time being, we are going to leave Camille in the top lane A tier, but there's a chance she could slide into S in the coming patches. The Bruiser item changes that we saw for this patch, which consisted of Eclipse, Black Cleaver, and Sterix getting buffed, have not led to a significant boost in power for any champ. A lot of Riven players have swapped over to running the core of Eclipse into Black Cleaver, but it's really not even performing better than the standard Axiom Arc into Endless Hunger. It is performing better relative to last patch though, so we are probably looking at a more situationally good setup here to where you'd want Black Cleaver into tanks, but if you're playing into a squishy comp, then continuing to run Axiom Arc and Endless Hunger just makes more sense for Riven. So for the jungle tier list in 26.16, the champs who ended up shifting in power the most have been Bel'Veth and Nasus. Even though the top lane Nasus changes were extremely positive, jungle has seen a pretty big decline. Remember, Riot changes Nasus Q stacks so that he gets 1 more when last hitting minions or small monsters, but 2 less stacks when last hitting large monsters or cannon minions. So because Nasus jungle isn't able to Q stack off small monsters early on, he ends up losing a lot more stacks compared to last patch. The champ definitely isn't dead in the jungle, but he did lose around 3% win rate, so from being an OP tier pick to now slotting in as a good A tier champ. Bel'Veth nerfs landed a bit more on the harsher side, so she's getting a demotion down into the A tier for mid-patch. Still a better low elo champ than a high elo pick, so if you are anywhere gold or below, then you could argue for Bel'Veth being S tier, but for diamond and above, she's a lot more difficult to make work and would likely slot into the B tier, so we meet in the middle and place her in A for our tier list ranking. The early game of this new Bel'Veth is just way harder to make work, and then with the meta build being so much more squishy, you have less margin for error in mid to late game fights, which makes it harder to succeed against good players. In regards to the jungle pet buffs from this patch, we really haven't seen them lead to a drastic shift in meta, but both Zac and Lilia, who we moved up the tier list for pre-patch, are the ones who are outperforming right now. Zac is now looking like the best tank jungler for solo queue, and Lilia is slotting in as the best AP jungle pickup, while you've got Nocturne and Shyvana as the leading fighter options. For mid lane in 26.16, the changes that were issued have just solidified the top champs in meta even more. We saw tier 3 Sork Shoes get buffed, and tier 3 Mercs get nerfed, so the OP tier mids being Vex and Fizz have just become even better, with the tier 3 Merc Tread nerfs. Galio is seeing the biggest decline in power of any mid for this patch, so we're moving him down into the B tier. It's definitely a mage and AP assassin meta for mid right now, as on top of Fizz and Vex, we have Xerath, Ahri, Hui, Victor, and Syndra all performing incredibly well and are placed up in the S tier. The Berserker's Greaves and Gunmetal Greaves buffs from this patch really didn't boost Yasuo or Yone's power level a significant margin, so they aren't being moved anywhere on the tier list. Azir was the one mid lane champ who got directly buffed for this patch, and he's sitting power-wise about where we expected. Champ is still quite underwhelming for the average player as he's placed in the B tier, but if you are running the correct setup of Press the Attack for the Keystone and Dusk and Dawn as the rush item, then it's a lot easier to make him work. If you guys watched our OP builds video for this patch, then you would have saw that we were really optimistic about Hurricane Yanara, and with more data to go off of now, there's no question it's a superb pickup for her in 26.16. Most Yanara players are still building Fiend Hunter bolts as their second item, but you should be picking up Hurricane a lot more often now. Hurricane is really good value on Yanara because the AoE bolts help her shove out waves faster, which is something she struggles with, and then the bolts from Hurricane apply on hit effects, so this synergizes with Yanara's Q since the spell gives her bonus on hit damage. So if you're playing into an enemy comp with a strong front line, for instance a Cho'Gath top, Zac jungle, and Galio mid, would be the most optimal time to run Hurricane. As long as the enemy team has 2 or more frontline characters, then going for Hurricane is going to be of good value. Where you'd still want Fiend Hunter though is if it's a full squishy enemy team, as the stronger upfront burst and playmaking potential of Fiend Hunter is nice to have. Overall though, Yanara has become a much stronger and more versatile pick due to these Hurricane buffs, so she's getting a promotion into the ADC A tier. And it wasn't just Yanara who got stronger off the back of these Hurricane buffs, as we've got Jinx moving back into the OP tier for ADC, since she's been loving the buffs too. As a result of the Hurricane buffs, it's seen a 2% spike in win rate on Jinx, so the changes have turned out to be quite massive. The best part of all though is that Phantom Dancer isn't necessarily terrible now either. Both items are great second pickups, so similar to like we mentioned for Yanara, you can swap between items depending on the enemy comp. And then Zeri was another big winner for this patch due to the Hurricane buffs, as she's one of the best S tier ADCs right now, as you pretty much want to take Hurricane in every single game on Zeri. Hurricane literally has a 4% better win rate than Fiend Hunter bolts on Zeri, so with that large of a gap and with Hurricane being played in a higher sample of games, there really isn't an argument for taking Fiend Hunter at all right now. And then in regards to the magic resist buffs for ADCs and the fleet footwork buffs, it doesn't look like they've impacted the meta in a significant way. Mages are still performing extremely well, so it was definitely Hurricane users who ended up winning out the most from the 26.16 changes. Moving on to support now, one champ we want to highlight who has seen a new build become meta over the past few patches is Sona. Sona with Winter's Approach as her rush item has been finding a ton of success recently, and especially if paired up with mages. Most enchanters generally aren't the best with mages, but with Sona's catch power at 6 with R, and then by running this new build, she can actually slot in a lot better than other enchanters. The build we're talking about consists of rushing Winter's Approach into Staff of Flowing Water second. So Winter's Approach is going to provide you with a bunch of added durability, but gives a mass amount of mana as well, so you're able to play a bit more up in fights with Sona, dishing out your utility and not having to worry about dying instantly, which suits the average player extremely well. And then Staff of Flowing Water is phenomenal when you have a mage carry, because the item gives your teammates 40 ability power and 15 ability haste for 6 seconds when you heal or shield an ally, so you're going to provide your mages with a really powerful mid-game spike. You can definitely still run the standard Echoes of Helia into Dreammaker build on Sona, and this will be the better play if you have a more physical damage comp, but if you're playing with either a mage bot lane carry or if your team has a few magic damage carries, look to try out this new Winter's Approach into Staff of Flowing Water setup. Sona is currently placed up in the S tier for support right now, as her build versatility gives her a pretty big edge up on the other enchanters. And then if we have a look at the support tier list, nothing changes in regards to the OP tier, as it's going to be Thresh locking down the slot as the clear overperformer in the role. The change to the support role quest in 26.16 has not impacted melee supports at all, as we have not seen a decline in strength due to roaming being less effective. This is what we had anticipated going into the patch, because in solo queue, you're just way less likely to be roaming super frequently, so less quest progression when hitting towers or getting champion kills doesn't really matter, since you now gain more quest progression when stacking your quest off minions. Camille was the one support who has seen the biggest fall in power for this patch, losing around 2% win rate from her direct nerfs, and then the Hail of Blades nerfs also negatively impacted her. Camille was already a pick we weren't super high on for solo queue, and for the average player, because she's way harder to make work optimally compared to many other melee champs, as she works way better in a coordinated environment like pro play. So with these nerfs coming through, we are placing her down in the C tier. Poppy was the other support directly nerfed for this patch, but she has lost a lot less power than Camille. We noted in the pre-patch tier list to keep an eye on Aftershock potentially coming back as the more optimal keystone choice on Poppy support, and this has been the case so far. Aftershock is now the better win rate keystone for Poppy support, which was not the case before, so if you're looking to continue playing Poppy for this patch, then definitely try out Aftershock. Since Poppy didn't lose as much power as we expected from the nerfs, we are giving her a push out of B tier and into A for mid-patch. But while lists like these show you what to play, our brand new Season 16 Essentials courses for every role teach you how to win, each designed to walk you through every stage of the game from start to finish, from the exact trading and recall timers you need to win lane, to the mid-game macro decisions 99% of players get completely wrong, all the way to the team fighting tips and tricks challengers abuse to always deal the highest damage possible. Whether you're a top laner in the most unfavorable matchup possible, a mid laner having to deal with everybody in your lane 24/7, a jungler trying to balance ganking with farming, an ADC stuck trying to hard carry with a support who just exists to grief you, or a support that's struggling to carry games on your own. Our Essentials courses are tailor-made to focus on the exact concepts that actually matter for climbing on your role in your elo. Check them out today, completely risk-free, using the link in the pinned comment or description below, as if you don't climb at least 5 divisions, you get every penny back. So that's gonna be all for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.